It was really like Hollywood. I had this crap job in a corporate thing, you know, being the corporate chef for all these really, really straight suits. And I had written my first book, Fait Accompli, and there was a review in the paper. And Irene Gardner, who was the executive producer of the lifestyle, what was called the lifestyle division then, this was 1995, had seen this review of my book with a photograph of me, and she was looking for people to audition for this new show that they'd put together called Taste New Zealand. And so they called me up, and it was, you know, like just like Hollywood. You know, there I was doing this really boring job, and this phone call came, and my assistant said to me afterwards, she said, "You went white. I thought your mother had died or something really serious had happened." And at that moment, I just thought, this is a gift from heaven that I am not going to blow. And I just decided that I was going to take it really seriously. I had to do things that I've never had to do since, actually. Really hard things, like cook a recipe from beginning to end without stumbling, and doing a piece to camera, and I learned everything, and I took it really seriously and practiced. And I found out afterwards from the people who did the audition that I made much more effort than anybody else did, because all the other chefs that they interviewed were much better known, and they just assumed they were going to get the job. And one actually called me up and said, "How did you get that job?" It was the baby of Chris Wright, and he produced and directed it. And we thought it would last for a few years. And it's had different names. It started off being New Zealand Living, and then it was something else, Home and something or other. But my segment was always called Taste New Zealand, and then because it rated the highest, they just dropped everything else and turned that into a half-hour show. And every year we thought we'd be dumped, and every year we were still there, and that went on and on and on, and we did all sorts of branch-offs. We did, because it was a really good generic idea, you know, it was an idea that no matter who was presenting it, it probably would have been a long-running show, because it could mutate really easily. We did Toast New Zealand, which was about wine. We did Taste Takes Off, which was international. We did a Taste of Home. What else did we do? Anyway, Chris was very good at just sort of changing it and injecting new ideas so that we would still have a job every year. And we did for 12 years. I don't know any other food show that's run that long. I mean, it's unheard of. What Taste New Zealand has provided is a record. It's like a museum of an era, a very important era, 12 years of food in New Zealand from 1995 onwards, where things changed drastically in New Zealand, and where people got to find out, even though it's a small country, we don't know what's going on in other parts of the country. So people found out all these little things that were going on, and people who were, you know, doing small artisanal things, and we found out how much people cared about quality more than they cared about making a lot of money. And that was very interesting to New Zealanders, and it was very influential, you know. If you were on Taste New Zealand, you then did very well. That was always very deliberate, the over-the-top way I dressed. It was meant to be incongruous. It was meant to be funny that this person was in a potato field with gumboots and a Zambezi, you know, $500 Zambezi dress on and piles of earrings and everything. There was meant to be that juxtaposition. Things are getting a bit samey now. People are going to have to reinvent the food show. I mean, there's a great one on at the moment, a British one called Market Kitchen, which is really good. That's very alive, you know, it's very, there are different people doing things, but not stupid, you know. I don't like these cooking shows where everyone's yelling and they're all trying to be desperately entertaining, and you're actually exhausted at the end of it and you didn't really learn anything. I was living in a house in Ponsonby in Summer Street, and it had this crappy old orange stove in it, and the owner of the house was extremely proud because she had bought it at an auction, a TVNZ auction, when they were selling all the stuff from the Hudson and Halls set. And she always maintained that we cooked such good meals on that stove because it came from Hudson and Halls.
And have you managed to verify that? Is that...
Oh, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it amazed me that they used such a funny old stuff. But you know, when you look back at the wonderful old shows that say someone like Alison Holsted, how primitive they were. I mean, she was telling me about it. She said it was just amazing how primitive it was. I cannot tell you how many people have come up to me and said, the best Taste New Zealand you ever did was that one in Bolivia. No, that wasn't Taste New Zealand. That was a torture trip with Intrepid Journeys. Well, of course, I wanted to go to somewhere that I wanted to go to, like Morocco, but Mel and Jane said, no, that's not the point of the show. You have to be put out of your comfort zone. You have to go to somewhere you don't want to go to. So they took me to Bolivia, and we all almost died. It was so cold. We were so sick. But the Bolivian people are really gorgeous people, and I would love to go back to Bolivia on my own terms, which wouldn't involve anything Intrepid. Intrepid travel's not that glamorous. When we were out in the salt plains, we were sleeping in these horrible kind of communal, oh God, you wouldn't even, lodge would be too glamorous a word. I mean, they were just hideous places where backpackers stayed. And, you know, there'd be 6 of us to a room, no heating, 25 below, not even a 2-bar heater. All the pipes were burst because it was uncommonly cold. So no showers, no toilets that worked. Everything was overflowing. I cannot tell you how hideous it was. And we didn't wash for 5 days. Bolivians are great people, very quiet, very chilled out, because they're all stoned on hooch and coca leaves. Basically, that's why they're so chilled out. But they're not great cooks, the Bolivians, I have to say. I set up my own production company completely by accident again, with some colleagues, and it's called Redhead Media. And I've made a DVD, a straight DVD of cooking, because people always used to say to me, we're so frustrated that you cook so little in your shows and that it all happens so fast. You know, the cooking segments only last for 3 minutes. And so I thought for my first project, I would make a DVD where it's only recipes. It's how to do this. And it's quite slow. It's not fast like it normally is on television, so people can cook with me. And then the next one we made was, you know, I take these gastronomic tours to Marrakesh. And so my partners came with me to Marrakesh, and we filmed a 6-part series on Marrakesh, which we are just finishing editing now. So that'll probably start screening towards the end of the year. And we've got all sorts of projects in mind.